welcome to the Nikki Speaks Show. Today I have the honor of having my first official live podcast with my good friend here, Jeanetta Thomas, and she is going to tell us a little bit about herself before we get started.
Hi everyone, I am an executive director for a major financial institution. I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and so I am so excited to have her on the show, on the Nikki Speaks Show, and to talk a little bit about some things that she's gone through in her life. And the premise for the podcast, the reason I started my podcast at all, was because I wanted to reach a certain audience, just everyday, ordinary people that are in the workforce that have a voice and have gone through some things and have needed to share those things and maybe have not, or maybe have to a small setting, but just more importantly to get their stories out there and just to encourage one another, because we all know that life can be difficult and can be challenging. And so I'm so happy that you said yes. We've been planning this for a long time, so we finally did it. But tell me a little bit about some experiences that you've had, or maybe one in particular that was challenging.
So my challenging event, the one that stands out most to me, is an event that took place in my childhood where I was isolated from a group of other kids. And that event it wasn't just a one-time event, it happened repeatedly over a period of 5 or 6 years.
And so as you were going through that, what were the emotions or feelings that you were faced with? Dealing with?
Well, of course, at that time, I want to say I was about 6, maybe to about 12, and I always wondered, okay, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be a part of the group? Or am I different? Or maybe if I just become better, I'll be able to be included. So
that became your why, to get beyond that experience is, let me aspire higher.
Exactly.
To be able to accomplish that. And you've been so successful with the things that you've accomplished. Tell us a little bit about your accomplishments.
Sure. So leading from that event, as she said, it pushed me to pursue things, to go higher. All of my life, I've been an overachiever, very competitive, very I want to say yes person, people pleaser. So success that was it, right? There was no other way. And that led me, into corporate America. I actually started out at a municipal court, and that was like my first job. But from there, in the transition that I made here to Texas, that led me into corporate America, where I started as a staff assistant, an administrative assistant in learning and development, and received several promotions up into now I'm an executive director in learning and development.
That was amazing. Yeah, I love the fact that you took a negative situation and you turned it into a positive by aspiring to do better and greater things. But as you experienced that and walked through that, if you had to speak to a select crowd that were women just like you, young ladies just like you, what would you say for them to endure, even if it was different than what your path was? You chose to aspire for greater things, but sometimes I think we all know what that feels like, to be isolated or to be left out. And so depending on what else you have going on, that's not always an option. So how would you motivate them?
The first thing I would say is to get to know yourself. Know who you are. And that sounds so cliche, but it's very true. And I mean all the way from the bottom. What types of food do you like? What types of books do you like? What do you like to do? All the way to the deep things, to say, when you have thoughts and, what are those triggers to cause you to think that way? A lot of times we don't take the time to get that deep and be that introspective. But for me, we started out where Nicole was saying I've been so successful. It's easy to be successful when you're trying to please people and you're a jack of all trades, but when you meet the fork in the road where you have to come up against some, what do you call it, some tough times or something that doesn't go well as planned, then you start to feel lost. And so for me, that was the path that I took to start and backpedal to see, okay, what is it that I'm good at? Because, I shared that I had all of those promotions, but none of them came to me because I sought them out. I was always selected and chosen. But it comes a time in your life when you have to know what you want, you have to have a vision, you have to propel forward without someone else pushing you. And when those opportunities stop happening, you just look around and wonder, okay, what's next? And so that would be my advice, get to know who you are.
I love that. And so true, so true. That self-discovery portion is really important. So, in thinking of the people that isolated you, that made you feel less than, what were their voices saying, even though some of them might not have been audible? What were you rehearsing in your head as far as why that was taking place?
You're not good enough. You don't belong. You're weird. You're awkward. You're stupid. Just all of those things.
Was that your first encounter with hearing those thoughts or feeling that someone felt like treated you like that?
It's real funny, and I would say yes, because actually I didn't even notice that at the time. It wasn't until another familiar situation, which is why I said you have to know your triggers, happened, and I started thinking that same way, saying I'm not good enough. And that led me down self-discovery to say, okay, where did this come from? And I went back to that childhood experience. So, yeah.
Wow. And I believe that so many of us have those stories. It may not be just the same, but it's those triggers, it's those experiences that cause us to feel a certain way. And like I said, I'm so proud of you for making the choice to turn it into a positive, but not everybody has that opportunity. So you found your voice in being an accomplished person, human being, career woman. Tell me a little bit about your recent business you just started.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited about that. So my business is called I Esteem. And I Esteem is an LLC corporation. I started that corporation because of my passion for women, to inspire women to be their unique selves. And it's all about the journey that I've taken and some of the things that I've learned. And I'm just taking all of my experiences and putting it into that business, starting with t-shirts that are motivation to women. And it will grow from there. There'll be some other lines that will come out soon. Eventually publications and speaking events. This is my first one.
Yes.
So I'm very excited about that.
Wow, that's so amazing. So amazing. And so, do you have a recent event or upcoming event that you'll be doing soon?
Not yet, but we'll see what happens after this podcast airs.
Yes, I'm sure they'll be calling you up. So tell me, just closing remarks, what can we tell the audience that's listening as far as perseverance? Because what I hear in your story is perseverance, in spite of it all, in spite of the words, in spite of the labels. Sometimes I feel like we put labels on ourselves even. So I'll have this side note question. Did you believe them? You said that the words that were cycling in your head were, you're not good enough. You're awkward, you're weird. Do you believe them?
I believe them, but for some reason I've always had a fighter spirit in me. So I would fight against those words, right? So what eventually started out as something hard actually helped me become who I am today.
Wow.
And what I would say as far as persevering, you have to have a firm foundation. For me, it's my faith. And so And when I mean by firm foundation, something that you can go to get you back into balance. Because if you're wondering or you're not sure, you always have that foundation to redirect you and ground you. And then also great people. You know, when I started out by saying know yourself, know what you want to do. If you know that, you will know when someone enters into your life that aligns with that, and when someone comes into your life who doesn't.
As an imposter.
Right. So.
Right. Wow.
But that's what I would say.
That is awesome. Well, I wanted to hold your hand. That's okay. Don't ever feel, I know you didn't feel that way. You didn't accept those thoughts or those actions, but don't ever feel that you are not good enough, because you are. And not only because I see you and I know you, but because your actions and your life and the path you chose align with that, with success, with perseverance, with I am good enough. And it shows on paper, it shows through experiences, it shows in times of triumph, and even in failure, you are good enough. So
thank you. That's awesome. Thanks, Nicole.
Tune in next time. See you guys later. Thank you for tuning in to the Nikki Speak Show.